Hey, we're live. Hey, welcome everyone to this week's Lotus Lounge. And I guess we're halfway through June 2023, and that's a little shocking. So, since it's mid June, especially here in Arizona, where we live, um, summertime means pool time, being outside, other places where it's warmer weather too. People get to do things outside. It's a great opportunity to be active. And so this week we're talking about being the wise sunbather, which most people think you need to avoid the sun. We've talked about this before. Carrie's pretty knowledgeable on this stuff, and I'm just going to throw it over to her, and she is going to share her expertise with us. Carrie?
Yes, hi everyone. So, sun exposure is one of my favorite topics. I think mainly because I was trained as an esthetician, and as estheticians over the years, we have become accustomed to telling our clients to stay out of the sun. And probably more than 10 years ago, I started to realize that we weren't being given the whole picture of this topic. And so with the sun, I like to say we are balancing our relationship with the sun. And one of my favorite doctors, perhaps you've heard of him, his name is Dr. Zach Bush. He has a quote that I really love, and he says, "The sun is not to be feared and avoided, but it is to be respected." And so that has always really spoken to me because it's so true. Because without the sun, there wouldn't be life on Earth, and we would cease to exist as humans. And so we all know, as far as the benefits of sun exposure, we can all associate sun exposure with vitamin D. I like to call it the sunshine vitamin D, or the sunshine vitamin, sorry. Um, Vitamin D is, in fact, a hormone that is manufactured in our skin in the presence of sunlight. And I think we can agree that these days, a, a lot of people stay indoors. We work indoors, we do a lot indoors, and we're not um, getting out into nature when we really should be, at least consistently. And when it comes to vitamin D, sunlight really is the natural source for vitamin D and the most important source for vitamin D. And research reveals to us that supplements do not level up to actual sunlight exposure. So I I will say that if you live in a region that is sun deficient, perhaps you are going to need some supplementation. But for those of us that live in the sunshine states, such as Arizona, it's really, really important to develop that balanced relationship with the sun so you can reap the benefits, but not gain the detriments. Do you like that?
That makes sense. So, and people who have followed us a little bit probably recall that I said I did have skin cancer several years ago. And so I went from spending probably too much time in the sun to then too little. So, I mean, what is, let's use the example here. What is a healthy balance for us, like in Arizona, as an example?
Well, what it comes down to is truly consistency.
Mm-hmm.
We need regular, consistent exposure to the sun. And it needs to be done in increments. So, somebody like me who is very fair, or somebody like you who's very fair, we really should start going out into the sun around springtime when the sun is getting stronger. So, for us, maybe end of February, early March, where we're beginning to expose ourselves on a daily basis. And I'm talking like a minute, and then the next day, raising it to 2 minutes. And then the next day, 3 minutes. And you keep raising the time until, let's just say, it's like 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But the goal is to obtain a base tan. And that tan really indicates that now your skin has a level of protection. And so the cells in our epidermal layer of skin, they're called melanocytes. They are responsible for protecting our skin from UV damage. So in the presence of a tan, you know that you do have some protection, and you can start to stay out longer, up to like a half hour. Now, we have to use common sense as well. There are signals that tell us when our skin has had enough sun exposure. And those signals are, your skin feels very hot. You can actually feel your skin burning.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important not to ignore these cues. It's very important at that point that you seek shade. You put your umbrella up, you put a light shirt on, something to cover up, so that you can at that point begin to protect your skin. Because it's not the goal to burn. Burning creates inflammation. It creates a cascade of oxidative stress on our bodies and on our skin. And when most of us, honestly, are nutrient deficient, when we don't have the reserves of protection
Mm-hmm.
from UV rays, you combine that's the recipe for skin damage, hyperpigmentation, and skin cancers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't think of the word right now, but the opposite of what I'm talking about
Mm-hmm.
is inconsistent sun exposure. That's intermittent sun exposure. So that's what most of us practice.
Yeah.
What we tend to do is our skin won't see the light of day for like 2 weeks or a month. And then all of a sudden we go on a weekend trip, or we go on vacation somewhere.
We go out on the boat with somebody.
Or you go out on the boat with somebody, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, my skin hasn't seen the light of day in weeks. And so now I'm going to slather my skin with sunscreen, which is a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
But at this point, we think we have a level of protection that we don't have. How many times have you put sunscreen on only to burn anyway?
Yeah.
And that's because you didn't have that level of protection to begin with, which is, I have now a base tan that I have obtained safely going out in the sun on regular, consistent intervals. And now I can withstand a little bit more sun exposure. In turn, I eat a diet that helps support my skin internally from the effects of the sun.
Yeah.
So you see how it's multifaceted, but the biggest mistake people make is going out protected, and their skin hasn't seen the light of day in a long time.
Yeah, because you're really not protected.
It's all the time. This is what they do.
So basically, to be the wise sunbather, it's just be smart, do a few minutes at a time, build up, get some sun, because sunlight, while it recharges us and we produce vitamin D, it is the best source of vitamin D. Vitamin D can be hard to get from a diet. I know. When I was, after my time outside in the skin cancer, or, I minimized the time outside, I was on, medical grade vitamin D a few times when I visited the doctor, very high dosages. I was deficient. And most, I don't know what the numbers are, but it's rather amazing how many people are vitamin D deficient in the US now. So, you just, like you said, quality diet, build up some minimal exposure, don't overdo it. get some, you just practice common sense. So that's
Well,
being,
and it's not just vitamin D.
no.
I mean, vitamin D is a big one. We all know about it, and we need vitamin D for healthy teeth, healthy bones, healthy immune system, healthy heart, healthy blood flow, healthy muscles. I mean, there's so much that we need vitamin D for, but there's also benefits from sun exposure that's independent of vitamin D.
Yeah.
And that would be like, for one, setting our circadian rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
You know how important that is. So being able to go out in that early morning light is really, really essential for setting that circadian rhythm so that
Mm-hmm.
we rise when we're supposed to and we go to bed when we're supposed to, and those hormones and neurotransmitters are triggered when they're supposed to. So it's really important for that. In addition, a lot of people don't know that sun exposure activates serotonin in the gut.
Mm-hmm.
And serotonin is like the happy neurotransmitter. It gets us going. It makes us feel ambitious, like we want to get something done. But also serotonin increases peristalsis, which, if you don't know what that means, it increases movement of the digestive tract. So for those of you that, maybe have slow transit time or constipation, I can't tell you how many times that I've gone out into the sun only to have to go to the bathroom when I come in. So it's just really, really important, independent of vitamin D.
Mm-hmm.
And I just gave a couple of examples.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think we've hit on a decent overview, and there's probably several things we touched on that we can expand on later in other videos. Is there anything else we haven't mentioned yet that you wanted to make sure to point out before we wrap up?
Yes, I want to emphasize that if you're looking to get vitamin D, there's a specific time of day in which you could obtain vitamin D synthesis. And typically it's around the same time that you can burn. So remember, you don't need to be out in the sun that long to reap the benefits and synthesize vitamin D. But the rule of thumb for vitamin D synthesis is if you go outside and you look at an object's shadow and the shadow is shorter than the object itself, you know this is prime time to get vitamin D absorption. So
midday.
Yes, you just have to be very careful because this is the same time that you can get burned. But do not try to get vitamin D with sunscreen because it's just, yeah.
Gotcha. Great. Okay. Well, I think, like we said, we touched on a few things in here that we'll talk more about in the future, but we just want to give a good overview of being a wise sunbather. And it's like, build it up in small increments. Midday is the best time to get vitamin D. Don't overdo it. And like you just pointed out, don't slather sunscreen or things on. Let your skin, your body do what it's supposed to do for those few minutes.
And Chad, don't you think one of the more common questions that people may be thinking to themselves is, what type of sunscreen should I wear when it's appropriate? Yeah. And do you think that would be a good conversation for maybe next week?
Next week, week after, anytime. Yeah, we'll bring it up. We'll take a look at it because, I know more and more people there's a growing awareness and concern. A lot of people probably aren't aware of it yet, so it's probably a very good topic to hit on. Especially in the summertime here in North America. So I think, let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. And let's point out, the best way for people to find out more about us, Lotus Evolutions Holistic Spa, is our website, which is, of course, the ubiquitous www.lotusevolutions.com. And you can reach out to us through there, and we're happy to answer any questions. provide any resources, whatever you need, we're happy to help. And with that, we don't have any Kit Kat appearances this week, although we have a Cocoa Bee sleeping in the chair. So let's not disturb the cat. Let's wrap up. Thank you, everybody. We'll talk to you next week in the Lotus Lounge.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.